We got a great guest for you guys. He's running for Senate in Missouri as a Democrat, but he's going to be a populist. Fascinating. Uh, this is different. Already we like it a little bit. So let's meet Lucas Kunce and see if we like it more. So Lucas, welcome to the program. How you doing?
Thanks, Cenk. Great. It's really exciting to be here. We've had a real fun time.
All right, excellent. Look, I want to get into why you're running and who you are, and what brought you to this moment, because it's always informative to know that. But I want to start with what happened when you came back from the Marines. So you did 13 years in the Marines?
Yeah, 13 years in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. And so Semper Fi, I'm
Yeah.
not Marines. I don't
Bye.
really do that, but I just know that Semper Fi is super cool, so I wanted to say it to you. Okay, so
It is super cool. I'm glad you know that.
oh yeah. Oh, nobody. Look, whatever you think of the Marines, nobody thinks Semper Fi isn't cool.
Yeah.
So, so you were poor. You go to the Marines. We'll get back to the poverty and all. Okay, we're in a fun way of doing this interview. But you come back from the Marines. You come back to your hometown. What's your hometown, and what did you find?
So I grew up in Jeff City, Missouri, and yeah, it wasn't, we were kind of in a poor neighborhood, but one of the things that I found when I came back each time, I deployed to Iraq, and then I come home in 2009, and the first house I ever lived in is bulldozed down. It fell apart. It's now an empty lot. I come back later from Afghanistan, and the house I grew up in, joined the Marine Corps out of, which was actually only four doors down from the other house, is vacant and abandoned. The corner store's all boarded up, and it's really hard to see what's happened to my old neighborhood.
So what do you think went wrong as you look around? What didn't we do right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't just think what went wrong. I know what went wrong. And what went wrong was we had massive corporations buying off the politicians in Missouri for several decades, and these guys managed our decline. They essentially stripped Missouri for parts. So they partnered with these companies to let them move overseas, ship jobs overseas, or ship the headquarters out of state. Really just globalization and corporate consolidation, all driven by corporate power, just pushed Missouri to the brink. And if you see like a chart of the economic recovery from the Great Recession, Missouri is just completely flat, and a bunch of the other states in the area go up. It's really sad, and it was fueled by massive corporate power because stockholders wanted to make a buck.
Okay, now we like what we're hearing. Okay, so that is.
I don't like what I'm hearing. I wish it never happened.
Yeah, no, but Lucas, that's a disaster. That's a disaster for the country. And the reason, of course, we like to hear it is because you're at least acknowledging it, which almost no other politician does. And they just keep telling us the stock market's doing well, as if that's somehow related to Jeff City, Missouri. And it ain't. And so it's heartening to hear it. And you were super proactive. You already got tytlucas.com. So if folks want to help, you're going to go to tytlucas.com so we can get real people into the Senate too. And that would be amazing. Lucas, you've already been endorsed by PCCC, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you coming out of the gate really strong with a progressive group backing you. So that's gives you some bona fides. So, but let's go back to what's happening in the middle of the country. Lucas, I get, my sense is this, that the coasts, especially the media centers like New York and Washington and the power centers, have no earthly idea how devastated the middle of the country is. And the middle of the country, because they're sitting fat on the coast, they do have their money in the stock market. The stock market is doing well. I think that they genuinely look around going, everyone I know is doing great. I don't know what people are complaining about. Meanwhile, in the middle of the country, I feel that there's a rage growing because of how it's being hollowed out. Do I get the right sense on that? Am I missing anything about that?
You're absolutely right, Cenk. And I can give you actually a concrete personal example. And so that's that, in 2014, my dad spent 2 years trying to sell the house that I grew up in our old neighborhood. It's a nice house. It's one of these old Sears kit homes. And these things, you can find them all over the country because they came out of a catalog, the Sears catalog. And, everyone on the coast was talking about how great the economy is, how we'd recovered from the Great Recession, and stuff, everything was booming. My dad tried to sell that house for 2 years. He got $40,000 on it, and he owed $80,000 on it. So when they say, all you got to do to get wealthy in this country or to build wealth is to buy a house, and, you know, work hard and keep your head down. That's exactly what he did. And when he retired, he was left with a pile of debt. And the real thing that upset me about this house was at the same time, you know, I was stationed at the Pentagon at the time, and I would walk by the exact same house that I grew up in, the exact same Sears kit home, and that house is right now worth about $900,000. So the exact same house in Washington, D.C., where all our money is getting stuck to, is $900,000, and back home here in Jeff City, it's $40,000. That's the difference.
Yeah. So, Lucas, there's so many things that come out of that. By the way, if you want to get his whole backstory, they did a great little ad on it. And so we'll put that link in the description box below. If you're watching later on YouTube or Facebook, we'll also put the link to tytlucas.com if you want to help donate to get a populist campaign. You're not taking any corporate PAC money, right, Lucas?
No. One of the things I want to do is abolish corporate PACs completely.
Okay. We're having a further conversation now. Okay, now we're rolling.
We need to take it next level, man.
So, I you know, there's so many questions I want to ask you, but one of them is, how do you move the Democratic Party? Because right now you'll be on the outer edge of the Democratic Party. They hate populist talk. The leadership does, and you're never going to win in Missouri if you go there and be a corporate stooge. Like, oh, honestly, in my opinion, you don't have to back it up, that every single person Chuck Schumer picks, right? They've got corporate Democrat written all over them. Maybe Claire McCaskill, again, don't say anything. I know you'll get yourself in trouble. Okay. But like, so how do you move the Democratic Party in the direction of that you're going, populism, where you go to, hey, look, man, this isn't working for us. We're getting killed out here in Missouri. How do you move them in that direction?
I got 2 points on this. And the first one is that I am very, very concerned that the Josh Hawleys of the world, you know, Joshua Hawley is from Missouri, and this guy comes down here with this fake populist agenda, and we're not providing them a good alternative for that. That's one of my big motivations for running, is that, you know, we need to show that we can have an inclusive, progressive populism that actually takes care of people. And if we don't do that, we're going to keep losing people in the Midwest who feel like they've been left behind and are being convinced of who the villain is, you know, being somebody who it's not. Like, the villain here is corporate monopolies. It's nothing else. It's massive corporations buying our politicians. But they get tricked on all these other issues, and people like Josh Hawley, who wants to do absolutely nothing about the system that keeps us one disaster away from being on our knees begging him for money. You know, he's been able to take advantage of this, and we're going to convince the Democratic Party by having a strong message and winning. The people in this state have been demanding a change in who fundamentally has power in our country. I see that. I feel it every single day. You know, we've passed progressive ballot measure after progressive ballot measure here. Most people around the country wouldn't know that, but we fought back right to work. We passed Medicaid expansion. We increased the minimum wage way above what the federal limit is. And we passed medical marijuana. That's what we want. We want power out of corporate hands and in our own hands. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're running on, and I'm really excited about it.
So you grew up poor. Tell us about your upbringing a little bit and how that affected you and who you are today.
I grew up in a magical neighborhood. Like, there were kids running all over the place. We were in and out of each other's houses all the time. Everyone parented us, took care of us. Didn't matter if you were black and white. Like, we were all together. That's the beauty of this country, man. And yes, we had hard times, and none of us had very much money. You know, we lived paycheck to paycheck. My parents, I remember them writing checks at the grocery store and asking the cashier not to cash it, and the manager, because it was a local store, not some big monopoly, actually knowing us and knowing that we were good for it and taking care of us. And I remember, you know, when I was a kid, my little sister was born with a heart condition, and we went bankrupt, right? And the reason we made it through that, though, was that the people around us took care of us. You know, they didn't have any more money than we did, but down at my mom's prayer group, they'd raised money for us. I remember sitting in our living room and just like more lasagna and casserole rolling through that front door than we could ever eat. And in my mind, what we need to do is we need to make sure that that's who has power in this country. That's who makes decisions. At that level, we know how to take care of each other. It's what we believe in. And I'm tired of these massive corporations coming in and stripping our communities for parts. That's exactly what they've done. They stripped us for parts. They don't treat us like human beings. And, you know, they deny the right to vote to many people. They don't care about us. And I want to change that.
That's powerful, Lucas. And so one more question. So you worked at an organization that fights against corporate power. So first, real quick, tell us what that is, and then most importantly, yes, but how does that affect the actual people of Missouri? That because sometimes that work could feel esoteric or like that's an interesting intellectual exercise, but how does it affect my life in Missouri?
Yeah, so when I ended my time in the Marine Corps, I joined a nonprofit called the American Economic Liberties Project. And what we do is we fight big agriculture companies, pharmaceutical cartels, big tech companies, and the people that really just control our economy and our way of life. And these massive corporations, especially monopolies, they impact us every single second of every single day. It's very difficult to start a small business now because the marketplace is so oppressive. You know, we have fewer smaller businesses than we've ever had before. Entrepreneurship is down. If you're a small farmer or any sort of farmer who's not a massive corporate farm, you're getting pushed on every single end on the agricultural side. You know, you pay more for the inputs and you get less money when you sell, and you have to try to compete with people who can sell for cheaper. They destroy our land. We have massive agricultural corporations in our state and in our country who destroy the land, and when the bill for that comes due, guess who's going to pay for it? We're going to all pay for that. And they also they don't care about workers. They push down wages. And then, you know, when on the pharmaceutical side, the insulin cartel is a great example. They've taken the price of insulin from $25 to over $250 over the last couple decades. It's criminal. They're taking advantage of us. They're squeezing everyone every second of every single day. And it's time we take away their power and bring it back to ourselves.
All right, that's a great answer. So look, you got to give Lucas credit too, thinking ahead. So go to tytlucas.com if you want to help a populist not taking corporate PAC money who actually wants to fight corporate power to get you higher wages and to protect you. That is an excellent platform to run on. So tytlucas.com. And this is not, we got to do this again because there's a great heartwarming story about how everybody in the town chipped in to get you to go to Yale, and you got Pell Grants, and that's how the government working well actually helps people. So it's amazing that you've gotten this far, Lucas. And now with these endorsements, it looks like you're one of the major candidates for Senate in Missouri. And that's a hell of a thing. So thank you for joining us, Lucas. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Cenk. I'm really happy to come back.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.